here's my story, and I think it will relate to others, and I would love to get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger dude. Like, I don't have a great diet, and I was always the biggest, tallest, heaviest kid in my class growing up through middle school, and then after middle school, I never grew taller, only rounder. And in the last 18 months or so, I've dropped about 70-ish pounds at 38, and I
Wow.
still have probably 40 or so to go before my doctors get to where I wanna be. But I specifically remember somewhere around 10th grade, after I had stopped playing sports regularly, my parents came to me and they talked to me about that I was gaining weight, and I didn't notice it at the time. I'd always been called big guy, so I always thought I was heavier, but my parents saw something that I hadn't seen, and the way they had that conversation with me at 15 offended me and made me shut down to what they were saying, even
Mhm.
though looking back, they were exactly right with what was going on, and if had I been aware of that, I could have gotten on the front end of things before they got to where they did. But now as a parent, I'm looking at my 8-year-old son, and I see him built like me, just physically. He's taller than everyone. He's the biggest kid in his class,
Mhm.
and over the last year or so, he's thickened up without a growth spurt. If you know kids, you always go out before you go up, and I know
Mhm.
that upward growth spurt's coming, it just hasn't got there yet. So, it's brought up some of the insecurities that I have in myself based on my
Mhm.
own story and my own life, and I think that's something parents deal with on a regular basis. Like, we all have our own insecurities, and we project those onto our kids without realizing it, and that's
Mhm.
something I don't want to do to my son, but I also want to set him up for long-term health. So, I don't want him to think that food is inherently bad, or and I don't wanna come anywhere close to, like, the diet culture that we grew up under, but from your perspective, how would you coach people like me and parents who have these insecurities and we see our kids and we don't want them to go through the same things we did? How would you coach them to approach food and weight, or maybe it's even fitness in general? How do we have those conversations with our kids?
Yeah, I think that's such an important conversation to have, and just even you being aware of, like, that the conversation could go the wrong way and that could be damaging to your son, because I will tell you, like, I work with a lot of adults that have a lot of challenges around food and their body because of conversations that their doctor or their parents had
To
with
this
them when they
day,
were really little.
my mother-in-law, the first thing she'll say about somebody, "Well, I saw so and so and she's put on so much weight," or she's like, it's the first thing she says. So my wife still has that, like, my wife has been on the same weight loss journey I have been, and she won't talk to her mom about it because of the shame that she feels from her mom just
Mhm.
because of how she talks about stuff.
Yeah, I this is something I see all the time, and so I think providing education for parents on, like, how do we talk to kids about food and their body? And I always, even when I'm working with a child or a parent, I'm always framing the conversation around how can food help to fuel us, help us have more energy, help us with our sleep, help us regulate our mood. So I'm always trying to connect food to something positive that it can do for us, right? So, like, these are the types of foods that we want to have before we go to school so that our brain can pay attention for longer periods of time. Or these are the types of foods we want to have after soccer practice because our muscles are really sore and tired. And this is going to help to rebuild our muscles and make us stronger for the next practice. And that can be a way of promoting, like, the healthier foods that you want your kids to eat without saying, like, you're overweight and these are the foods that are going to help you lose weight. Like, we don't really need to have those conversations, especially with children that are still growing. Like you just said, like, your son is gonna go a little wider before he goes taller. So, like, let's see where he ends up. You know what I mean? Like, we can't kind
But
of
the
jump ahead
insecurities
and
are
just
there from the kid who never kept going taller, and it's
so,
like, it's
yeah.
like, yeah, I feel it in me, and
Yeah.
I don't want to project my insecurities onto my kid. So, but
Yeah.
that's such a natural thing for all of us to do.
Yeah, but you're already one step ahead because no one really had that conversation with you in a positive, healthy way. So the fact that you now can kind of, you're seeing a similar pattern in your son, and I'm sure other parents can really relate to this conversation too. And now you can kind of do like an intervention, but it's not an intervention. It's really just promoting fueling your body so that, when you go to camp all day, you're going to be able to have lots of energy and you're going to be able to run faster on the soccer field if we eat these certain foods, and making it into like a positive. Food can fuel your body,
Mhm.
and food is not the enemy. And I think we can get really caught up in like this diet culture of like, what should we take out of our diet so that we can feel better? But I always say, well, what can we add to our diet so we can feel better? Like if you're someone that really needs a bowl of ice cream before you go to bed every night, like we don't need to focus on, okay, well, maybe we can decrease the portion or do it every other night. No, let's just like focus on what you're eating the rest of the day. And then that bowl of ice cream will be fine, right? If the other 90% or 95% of your day is good, then keep the bowl of ice cream. So I think it's just reframing the conversation of like, we can still have these foods every now and then because they taste good and, it's like a special occasion, but let's really focus on these types of foods to make you feel good at school or at practice or give you more energy or help you stay awake during afternoon class. That's a big one. Like you're getting tired in the afternoon. These foods are going to make you feel like you're a little bit more awake or alert or things like that. So I think it's just framing the conversation in a positive way. And not even mentioning weight because again, like kids are growing and their
Yep.
bodies are changing. And it's like, I know a lot of people that, like just when they had that growth spurt, they thinned out.
Yep.
And that was just the way that their body was developing. So yeah, those are tough conversations to have though, but I think it's important to have them and then also kind of know like how that could affect long term your child and the way that they think about their body and the way that they think about food. Because I've definitely seen working with like adult athletes or teen athletes a little bit of concern about maybe some of the ways they view their own body because of things their parents or their doctor or a coach, especially coaches, have said to them about their body.
Yeah, and just I mean, for all the parents listening, I just want to acknowledge that, like, your insecurities are real and, like, they're based on your experiences, so, like, don't feel shame about having that insecurity, just be aware so that you don't project it onto your kid. Like, I have to constantly check myself when I say, "No, can I have this? No." Like, okay, is it actually okay for them to have that piece of Dove chocolate after dinner? Like, yeah, like, it's okay occasionally for us to do that, but the fudge round or the Swiss cake roll, we probably shouldn't have that multiple times a day. So, like,
Yeah.
the insecurity can be I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think can be a good guardrail, but we can't project it onto the kid completely.